Hello and welcome to another episode of Ignite Leadership. We're here at the Goa Fest, and joining us at Goa Cast today are Biprorshee and Sujeet Kulkarni. Thanks a lot, guys, for giving us your time.
Thank you.
So, since we're in Goa, we can just drop the intro and formalities and just start talking immediately, right? So, Sujeet, I wanted to ask you, I saw on your LinkedIn that you call yourself a marketing effectiveness consultant. So, I'm trying to understand, what's your work and how do you fit into this broader marketing world that we're seeing here?
Sure. So as part of Lions Advisory, what we do is we work with some of the leading marketers around the world, and we try to help them undergo creative transformation, focus on improving creativity and effectiveness, and bringing that together. So that's kind of where I fit into the larger picture. So I work with these companies. I use a lot of the great content that the likes of Bipro and our team produces to help these marketers become more effective.
Right. And what's the what kind of role do you play in all of this? What's your work like?
Barely saving the world, yeah, he is. But so what I do, my designation, as simple as it is, I'm the India editor at WARC, and I'm leading the editorial product, the WARC editorial product here. My simple job is to basically present the India marketing story, pull out insights from the market, what's happening, what's effective marketing strategy, essentially. To cut a long story short, like I said, just bring the India marketing story, present it at a global stage.
So I wanted to ask you, how do you see the balance between global narratives and local cultural nuances when it comes to Indian advertising? And as you said, putting it on a global scale.
I think it's no longer, it's not an either or. I mean, the best global brands in India succeed because they adapt with humility. Think of it, I mean, the way I would put it is, think of it as a global soul with a local skin. For example, I mean, McDonald's didn't just translate the menu, its menu, it learned how to be Indian. And that's the evolution, localization, not templating. Sujeet, you want to add some more to that?
No, I think that McDonald's example is a really good one because not just McDonald's, even some of the others. Let's take the Korean craze that's happening across the country. So you can see it in music, you can see it in clothing, you can see it in food. So I think that's a great example of like a global trend, a global phenomenon that has come to us in India, and then we have taken our own spin on it and adapted it quite well.
I think the McDonald's thing is great, right? For me, it's become this almost a ritual that wherever I'm traveling, if it's a different country, I want to go see their McDonald's and see what their like Mekalu Tikki is or what's their little personalization. And it kind of ties in together even for the customer's experience to have a closer connect to the brand.
And have you noticed what they're doing recently, in India? I mean, you see the menu, they have a lot of these Korean burgers, the Korean flavor. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, but it's not Indian. At the same time, I mean, it's listening to what's happening. I mean, what's happening in India, where where the audience, where its consumer is going, how their tastes are evolving, and that's how. So I love that adaptation. I mean, and I think we kind of hinted at it in our sessions yesterday that it's beyond geography. It's more about that those shared perspectives, those shared views of the people. Geography doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, totally. So let's take a little throwback in your personal journeys as well. So what are early moments in your career that shaped your storytelling lens?
I'll go first.
Please go ahead.
For me, it has been a journey that it's very cliched. It is a journey that I'm on. I'm still learning, but it actually is that way. Because I can't put my finger on many pivotal moments as such, but I would think that one defining moment was when I actually entered the industry with a trade publication several years back. And barring my super talent of actually consuming and enjoying ads since I was a kid, and actually remembering jingles and singing them aloud. I mean, I'll just break into Bakeman's Glucose Plus if you let me to, if you let me right now. But no, I digress. So when I joined this particular publication and to write on advertising and marketing. I mean, I started on a clean slate, and I think that worked beautifully. I knew nothing about advertising and marketing. I learned while I worked, and it's still going on. You know, and after all these years, I would, you know, the way I see it, I'd consider myself to be very, very fortunate that I get paid to learn. That's how I describe my work.
I think in many ways it is quite similar to what Bipro has said, in the sense that, you know, I also consider myself very lucky that on a daily basis I get to learn more and more about marketing, communications, and get paid to do so. So I think that's a fantastic thing. In terms of any pivotal points, I think it's a mixture of different things. You know, when you think about storytelling, when you think about the craft of marketing in general, I think one thing is at the heart of it, and that is the insight that you begin with, and paying attention to, you know, almost grappling that insight out of information that is in front of you is very key. So I think that's something that for me personally happened right from school times, when, you know, I was involved in multiple like dramatics, debating, and all of them were slightly different in the way they were, you know, that you had to tackle problems with, and that gave me that lens, which I think, you know, with further learning is still being harnessed at the moment.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting that you said you've naturally enjoyed watching ads, because I think that's a question that most people have, right? Like, I think the average person just tries to skip over or glaze over an ad as quick as possible. And it makes you wonder, like, people who work in advertising, like, do they skip over the ads or not? So since you said, like, you personally enjoy it, right? I want to ask you from the other side, like, what makes you immediately skip an ad? Or is there even, like, that factor of skipping for you?
Oh, there is.
Yeah?
Now there is. I mean, I think it also has to do with the times, you know, where we are doing a bunch of things. We are increasingly, and as philosophical as this might sound, we are increasingly becoming an impatient lot. And I want to kind of here also nod at a campaign a mobile service provider did something on similar lines a few years back, that we don't have the time anymore. So skipping ads comes naturally. Having said that, still enjoy them, still enjoy watching ads, still want to kind of look into what's the new insight in this. And I want to take off from where continue from where Sujeet said, you know, that insight bit is very important. And again, if I have to connect it to what you asked me in the personal career journey, I think then another defining moment for me was when I joined WARC, because I consider my when I started in advertising and marketing with that particular publication that I said, I was exposed more to the creative side of things. You know, that's what I was dealing with. I mean, how creative can you get when you're making or writing an ad, a campaign? And when I joined WARC, the focus shifted on strategy to strategy. You know, and so I think it's been a great journey that way, that I've been exposed to both sides, both creative and strategy. I'm not going to pit one against the other, but that's what I mean, you know, that when I say that it's been a journey where I've just been learning and I still continue to do so.
Yeah. And so speaking of impatience, right, when on one end the audience is impatient and on the other end you guys have to cater to them, how do you choose which trends or voices deserve attention in not only a diverse market but also a short attention span market?
I think one of the most important things is whatever piece of creative that you're trying to put out there, it has to capture attention very, very quickly. If you don't capture somebody's attention in the first 3 to 4 seconds, maybe up to 6 seconds, chances are you're going to lose them. And that's where the skip button appears and you kind of move away. So I think the focus has to be on what grabs attention. I think that is one of the key aspects of it. There's a lot of creative ads that are out there, but if the creative bit, the attention grabbing bit only happens somewhere towards the middle, then you've already lost the audience in the beginning.
And would you say there is a good way to grab attention and a bad way to grab attention?
Actually, I would say there is no good or bad way. You have to grab attention. So to give an example, like, you know, whether you're eliciting a positive emotion, humor, whether you're eliciting a negative emotion, fear or shock, both are better than having like a very safe corporate kind of an ad out there that does neither.
Yeah.
So even if you're eliciting a negative emotion, you're still likely to grab more attention than if you were just putting out a plain, typecast ad of
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah. Do you have something to?
I think
Yeah.
I can't top that.
Yeah, and I think even further in that, like when there is a new trend coming in every week, every couple of days, as you as a person like behind the curtain who drives a lot of things, how do you choose what trend to adopt and what to let go?
Okay, should I take-
Shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I actually prepared for that. Well, when you're particularly talking about India, I can talk about being the India editor. I can talk about this country, and this market is just too vast, too nuanced for something like trend spotting, which I have to do, to be guesswork. So, what we do at WARC is we look for three things, I believe. Number one, is it grounded in cultural or behavioral truth? Is there real impact? I mean, not just eyeballs, but we're talking effectiveness. We are big on that, on effective marketing strategy. And does a piece of work have lessons, or does a trend have lessons that go beyond the moment? Has some kind of a long-term effect. I mean, if these boxes are checked, a trend usually would deserve our attention as well, our audiences. So we'll pick those and we'll start investigating, analyzing those more.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think another lens to look at it is from a brand's perspective. If you're an advertiser, does your brand come into the communication? Does it have that tone of voice? So if you're somebody like, say, an Instamart or Zomato, or a brand which generally has a lighter tone of voice, you can play around, you can joke around a lot more. You may be able to capitalize on a lot more viral trends, dances and other things that are happening on social media. Whereas if you're a more serious brand, something like a bank, then you have to really pick and choose, because you do want to get in on the conversation, but in a way that is true to your tone of voice as a brand.
Yeah. I think something that a lot of people we've been speaking to are echoing is that a brand needs to like understand its roots and protect its roots, like not cut it for the sake of capturing that short term like gain. Yeah.
Exactly, because then it comes across as inauthentic. And consumers are today really smart. They have access to all the information online. They can easily figure out if your brand actually has a stake in what they're trying to do versus they're just trying to jump on the bandwagon.
What's one belief you've had to unlearn in the past couple of years in your career, either editorially or in terms of strategy?
I'll go first, and I'll choose to answer this as a journalist. And I can't say last couple of years. I think the unlearning began when I joined the working population, when I entered a workplace for the first time. My beef with all that I learned with the institutes I attended, well, that's a story for another day. But if I think about it, it has to be that speed doesn't always equal relevance, and this becomes very interesting and very relevant for a journalist. You think, like there's what we see is that there's always this rush to react to something that's happening, and it has always been there. When I began my career, before I began my career actually, and now, it's just that the form has changed. These days we call something viral. I mean, I just call it loud and cacophonic. More often than not, I feel the best stories are told in a patient manner. And once again, I would have to say that, I'm glad the nature of my work is such that I can afford to observe, make sense of something, and then probably talk or express what I have to.
I think in terms of having to unlearn something, when I started out, I had this belief that there are certain principles, there are certain learnings that may only apply to, say, India or another country. But, and I've been fortunate to work all around the world over the last 15, 17 years. One thing that I've come to realize is the basic principles are the same everywhere. The only difference lies in how you end up communicating them. So maybe in East Asia, you'll have to communicate them in a different way. Maybe in India, you'll have to, and even within India, in different regions, you'll have to communicate it in a different way, and so on, so forth and so forth. So I used to think that each region has different principles, that you will have to completely change your approach. That is not true. So
Okay.
that was the biggest learning, that you can stick to the basics, but just adapt how you're executing.
Yeah. And what are those core principles?
I think in terms of how people want to be treated as an audience, as well as you know, if you're speaking to your clients, the human behaviors that exist are pretty much universal. So, for example, you know, Snickers as a brand came up with the "You're not you when you're hungry" tagline. And that was on that universal truth that when people are hungry,
Yeah.
they don't behave like themselves.
Or hangry. as
Or
we
they
say.
become hangry, they
Yeah.
express themselves in very weird ways. And that is true around the world, whether you're an Indian or an American or anybody else.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, you know, the human nature remains the same.
Yeah.
It's how you execute based on those cultural nuances, some shared beliefs, as people said. That is where the change comes.
Got it. Got it. Now, kind of moving on again to a more abstract question, right?
Sure.
Like, how do you spot creativity that actually moves the needle, whether that's in campaigns or courses? Because it's very easy to fall into this world where it's like buzzwords and, you know, strategy that kind of doesn't really go anywhere. But you folks have that eye to spot what is genuine creativity.
Let me give you an example. I think it was mid-90s, if I'm not wrong. There was, it was Hutch back then, I think.
Yes.
Hutchison. They had that ad that I think most of us who grew up during that time still remember, that there was a boy and a small dog just following that boy.
Early
around.
2000.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right? Just showing this power of their network, that wherever
Yeah.
you go, you're going to be there as a friend. Now, you know, not every ad sticks in your mind, but for a lot of people that would stick, because that was a very powerful visual that connected with a very human emotional element,
Yeah.
showcasing a very technical thing. So creativity can take different forms, but creativity that truly moves the needle can be sometimes counterintuitive, like going completely opposite to what others in the industry are doing. It can be sometimes very simple, a simple story told in a very dramatic, humanizing way that truly connects with the audience. So I think whenever you can bring a complicated point across in a very simple way, I think that's where creativity can shine through, either using humor, using entertainment, and using any other means at your
Yeah.
disposal.
Definitely. Yeah. So let's just move on to a bit of a rapid fire round now to wrap this up, right?
Sure.
So, what would you say is one overlooked marketing principle that you see everywhere?
That, yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would think that the fact that brand building is not a luxury, it's survival.
Yeah, I think brand building definitely is very important. One thing that when certain brands have adapted, it has worked really well for them, is, like I mentioned earlier, the counterintuitive approach. Do the opposite of what everybody else in your category is doing. That instantly will make you stand out. And just an example, like the Burger King, they did a campaign where they showed, there was a lot of talk around how fast food burgers are full of preservatives, and if you leave them out for 20 days, they'll still look the same. So Burger King created a video. They left one of their burgers out, and within a couple of days or so, it was full of mold. And they put that on print, on
Yeah.
a different channel. And that's very counterintuitive. If you're a
Yeah.
fast food player,
Yeah.
you want your burgers to look as nice and shiny rather than looking moldy and bad. And that did really well for them. So again, think how you can take a counterintuitive approach.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of similar to this, but also what's a marketing cliche that you think still works?
I think it all begins with the insight. It is a marketing truth. Maybe over the years, in the pursuit of different trends, different new technologies that are coming up that are available for marketers to play with, we sometimes tend to forget it. But the insight is the bedrock of everything you're trying to do. So if you hold on to that truth, regardless of whether you're using Gen AI, whether you're using social media, digital channels, that it all starts from there.
I would think what you say is more important than how you say it. Advertising छोड़ो, ये life fund है.
Yeah, totally. So, what's an editorial ritual that you swear by?
Editorial ritual.
Yeah. Or maybe, like, let's say, what's like a professional ritual that you follow in your day to day that you swear by?
Not professional,
Okay.
but I think this also comes because I work from home. So somewhere personal and professional, they intersect. But you're going to find this funny. Doom scrolling.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can go on and on.
And that helps.
That helps.
Okay.
I get more information about what's happening around me on social media than anywhere else. And I actually get most of what I want to know from. It's horrible.
Okay.
It takes away a lot of time in the day, but it does help actually.
Okay. Are you one of those people who wakes up and kind of gets to
Absolutely.
their phone? Okay.
I am nomophobic. I'll die without my phone.
Yeah. Good insight. Yeah.
No, I think most of us are in that sense. Because I think social media is where most of us are getting our information today, whether we like it or not, either through doom scrolling or anything else. Nobody's sharing news articles anymore. It's reels.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's WhatsApp forwards and so forth. So it's become part of the daily ritual to kind of do that. For me, it's just try to either consume some form of content every day that you may or may not have done so before. So it can be, you just ask somebody recommends a new series. Doesn't matter what the series is about, just go consume it for a little bit. You may get some interesting insights in terms of what the theme is, how it is directed, how the story is being portrayed. So, and it can be entertainment, it can be around marketing, it can be a documentary, anything. I think that helps quite a bit.
Yeah. So just diverting a little bit away from the rapid fire, but you guys mentioned how important brand building is, right? And now we've talked about social media. What do you think is the role of creators or influencers in the broader brand building strategy?
I think they're becoming more and more important. You are seeing a lot of brands now having influencers as a key part of their strategy. The main reason why a lot of these influencers tend to connect well is because their audiences feel they have a connection to them. And if they are able to authentically incorporate brands and products that they themselves use, the audiences feel a lot better, they have a lot more trust in that authenticity that comes, because that is where the influencer connection is really useful. But again, it also has its cons. In terms of having influencers not using your products but then marketing them regardless, or as a brand having a lack of control over what the influencer does outside of those sponsored or partnered videos, because it also is a reflection on the brand at the end of the day.
So and to add to that, I would think that speaking from a brand perspective, I mean, it's great. It's something obviously still something that's evolving, but at the same time I mean, we need to have filters. We need to have our checks as a marketer, as a brand, because we see what's happening around us. We have seen some stray incidents, particularly in India, with influencers, with things went horribly wrong. So there have to be checks in place. That said, a very interesting question, because I've just I was before this a couple of hours back, I was sitting editing an article on a trend that they are calling de-influencing. You know, where people are actually getting tired. There is a level of mistrust that's seeping in. When it comes to influencers. So these are interesting times that we're living in. So it's very interesting to see both sides of the story. But having said that, huge role to play. Something that we even 3-4 years back we hadn't seen something like this. So it's still new, but we have to be, as a marketer, you have to be very careful and know what you're doing. Because it's very easy to kind of fall off the track.
So I mean, I see it as like this pendulum swing, right, where you have the influencer kind of push, and people were way more receptive to it because it's new. It's like a friend is turning to you and recommending something, and now we're having the de-influencer thing where people are just so skeptical of everything, right? So from the other end, like, I am a creator and I do like commentary on Indian brands and businesses, and you know, like from the other end, for me, for me, like it's a very basic rule of, if I love brands. Like my thing is not like bashing on brands, because every interaction we have every day is through a brand, and they are very meaningful. But I think where it kind of loses out is when a brand wants, even if you have a natural connection to them, wants you to kind of make them so much larger than life and inflate their importance and be like, you know, I think I have a lot of beauty influencer friends who are like, it's hard for us to connect with our audience because every brief is, guys, this is the product, you know, this is the best one, and just like subliminally forget about the one I talked about last week. And I think a lot of like brands don't realize that the harder you push, it hurts them too. Even it's counterintuitive.
Absolutely, because I think that's where the authenticity is lost. That's where the purpose is defeated. Because I think one of the major reasons why influencers even came to the fore is the fact that there was this human angle to it, the human angle to it, in the sense that it's no longer a celebrity endorse. I mean, there's that line between a brand ambassador and a brand influencer, you know, and that was that human thing. You know, it's not Shah Rukh telling me to have thumbs up. It's somebody from a tier 2 town who's enjoying a thumbs up, because thumbs up is big in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. So you immediately make that connect. But when, like you said, when brands go push that hard, you know, that authenticity is lost, and that is where I think the fatigue factor comes in. And where your audience would be like, I've had enough. This is bullshit. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to follow this influencer anymore. And then that's where the purpose is defeated.
And you know, like obviously we see that humanness with influencers, but it's great to have like this kind of format, right? Like you are the guys who are behind the curtain who push these things, so it gets more humanized, even with you chiming in and sharing what it's like to be building this stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's been great having you on. And my parting question with you would be, given your experience in Goa Fest and the time left, what is one thing you're hoping to get out of here? Is it an idea? Is it a meaningful connection, or just a burst of inspiration for when you get back to work on Monday?
I think inspiration is pretty much there in terms of the sessions that are happening. But for me, even bigger than that is just talking to the people around and figuring out, you know, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the pain points that are currently happening within the industry. So from a consulting, from an advisory point of view, I think that appeals to me quite a bit, to understand that, okay, if there is a common thread that is jumping out, then how can we tackle that and how can we solve that problem?
I would second that, you know, and a big reason why I love this industry and why I love what I'm doing, when I spoke about, you know, back in the day, dealing with creative people, now with strategists, the one common thing has always been people. I love the people. I find them very fascinating. So I use these platforms to come, connect, reconnect, and it also because, like I said, I work from home, so there's very little interaction beyond video calls and phone calls. So I use these platforms to kind of, it helps, you know, to speak, to connect once again, to meet old friends, to make new connections. So that's something that I really enjoy doing here.
So we hope you find more of that at the rest of your time, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a pleasure.